Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome. Welcome to today's live. I hope that when you are catching this, you are doing phenomenal. If you are new here, please feel free to let me know where you are watching from. If you are not new to this and you are true to this, then please feel free to tell me where you are watching from. If you are new to me, give me a one in the chat. If you are not new to me, give me a two in the chat. If you are new to me, give me a one in the chat. And if you are not new to me, give me a two in the chat. Okay, we are about to get this live started. I hope that you have had the most amazing holiday. Happy New Year. Welcome. Happy New Year. I hope you had an awesome holiday. We had an incredible time as a family. We enjoyed, we traveled, we ate real well. We did all the things. And today we are going to get into your career Q&A. So if you are watching me live, welcome. If you're new to me, give me a one in the chat. If you are true to me, give me a two and tell me where you are watching from. If you are catching this on the replay, then please comment hashtag replay to let me know that you are here because I want to know. I want to so let me know that you were here. We are live on Instagram. We are live on LinkedIn. We are live on YouTube. We are live in all the places. Okay. So if this is your first time, know that you can catch me on a couple different places. And if we get disconnected from here on Instagram, know that you can go to YouTube or you can go to LinkedIn and you can find me there. Now, we are going to get into subject matter material, but before I do that, I am going to make sure that I silence my distractions because we don't want that during the conversation. Okay. So, yeah, let's get this party started. So, I had asked you guys to please tell me what were some of your questions surrounding career and kind of where you were at. And you did not waste any time in telling me where you are from. Hello, Jersey and SoCal. Hey. I'm excited you guys are here. I feel like I haven't spoken to y'all in forever and a day. And it's probably because I haven't spoken to you in forever and a day. But you were asking me some of your career questions surrounding what to do, what to look for, what to expect. And before we get into that, I'm also going to kind of share with you some of the projections that I see, some of the things that I see that will take place over the next couple of weeks, over the next couple of months as it goes further into the year. And I want you to be mindful of how to prepare. Here's what we're going to do. I would love that if you have questions, you can drop them in the question bubble, and I will try my very best to get to those questions today because we have some questions that were already submitted. But if you have questions, you can drop them into the question bubble, and I will try to get to your questions. Today, there should be, if you're watching me on Insta, there should be a little comment with a little question mark. You can drop your questions there, and I will answer your questions towards the end of the live. And we're going to get right into it. Okay. So the first question that I got was how do I taskfully ask for a raise when being given more tasks? How do I tactfully ask for a raise when given more tasks? So my suggestion to you is going to first be make sure that you are keeping track of the tasks that you have been asked to do. Okay. So that's the first thing that I'm going to suggest that you start to do is make sure that you are keeping track of the tasks that you have been asked to do. Make sure that you have what I call an evidence list. An evidence list is what helps you in the in the system, right? Like in your system to make sure that you are tracking the work that you are doing. Okay. So somebody put it in the comments already. Make sure you are tracking your data. Absolutely. Make sure you are keeping inventory of what it is that you are doing day in and day out. And once you have been able to do that, the second thing that I'm going to ask you to do is to do your research. Do your research in terms of what is the fair market value for the position that you're currently in, okay, currently in without any of the added tasks. And then what is the fair market value for the position above that? So the first thing is, what is the fair market value for the position that you are currently in? And then what is the fair market value for the position that is above you? The reason that I'm telling you to look at the one that you're in and the one that is above you is because the salary ranges may be different. And so when you are asking for a raise and you want to do it tactfully, you want to know where you fall within the industry and within your marketplace. So you want to make sure that you're looking at numbers that make sense. You cannot go into a conversation to ask for a raise with numbers that absolutely do not make sense for the market, for the place in which you're at, and for the work that you are doing. So that is the way that I would encourage you to start to prepare for that conversation surrounding a raise. And then once you have those two data points, then you can move on to schedule time with your supervisor or your manager, whoever that individual may be. So, like that, you can have an educated and a data filled conversation surrounding the work that you're doing and how well you're doing that work. Now, here's the thing. I want you to, when you are having these kinds of conversations, I want you to think in terms of data and not from a place of emotion, especially for my sisters. I do not want you to come from a place of emotion, because what you don't want is you don't want your emotions to cloud the way that you are conversing and the way that you are leading the conversation. Remember that if you have data and you've done your research, then the data will speak in for itself. But when you address these types of conversations coming from a place of a whole lot of emotion, you are likely to say some stuff you're not supposed to say, or get yourself all up in your head and all up in your emotions. So make sure that you do your research. And secondly, make sure that you are keeping an evidence list. Okay. So that's how I would handle that conversation. The next question that I got is surrounding salary negotiations as well. And it says, how do I decide how much to ask for if my salary is 80,000? How do I decide how much to ask for if my salary is 80,000? And this is going to be I'm going to give you the exact same framework that I said before. Number one, do your research. Pay attention to the job that you are applying for, and make sure that you are paying attention to the fair market value for the role that you are going for. So, for example, if you are already at the $80,000 mark and the position that you are applying for is at, I don't know, 95, 100,000, you need to be able to identify what are your ranges. So we know that we don't want to go under 80,000, but we know that we would like to be anywhere between 80 and 100, especially if the market calls um, for that kind of a salary. The best places that you can look for this type of information is you can go on payscale.com, you can go on Google. When in doubt, Google that thing out, okay? You can Google search for that type of information. You can use LinkedIn as well for you to be able to see what is that type of information. So like that, you are making a decision based off of factual data, and you're not just pulling numbers out of thin air. Well, I kind of feel like I want 125,000 and I want to be completely remote and I don't want to manage people and I want a boat and a car and all this other stuff. And like, it's like, sis, the job doesn't call for half of what you asking. So if you don't know what the data is for that role, you're going to end up frustrated. So make sure that you do your research, make sure that you're paying attention to what is happening in the market. So like that, you are making an educated decision. Okay. So I hope that helps. The next question is, I'm looking for a job that fits with my interests. Whoop. I'm looking for a job that fits with my interests, but I haven't found one. Should I share my resume with key connections? Yes. So one of the things that we teach within the Scale to Six program is we teach you to identify who are the people in your network who can help you along your career journey. And in the program, we teach you to identify three people groups: the need to knows, the nice to knows, and the connectors. Need to knows, nice to knows, and connectors. My fingers are not cooperating with me. When you are able to identify those three people groups, now you can make an educated decision in terms of who you're going to share your resume with and who you want to share the news about you looking for a new opportunity. The best time for you to look for a job, ladies and gentlemen, is while you still have one. And the way that you can do that without getting all up in your emotions and nervous that people are going to find out is by leveraging your network. Because when you can leverage your network, these individuals who are in your network either know of your career past, they know of your work ethic, they know of your ability to get results. So leverage your network. And the way that you do that is by identifying three people groups: the nice to know, the need to knows, and the connectors. In the program, we break down how do you identify those people. But I'm going to break down for you those three people groups, who they kind of are. So the nice to knows are going to be people who are no, the nice to knows who are going to be people who are like managers, recruiters. They're going to be like directors. Those are going to be nice to know individuals, because those are people who can sway decision, but they don't really know you all that well. So they don't necessarily know your work ethic. They don't know how you get things done, all that other jazz. The need to knows are going to be individuals who are either in the role that you want to go into, or they have a position where they sway influence into you being able to get at least an interview. Okay. So if you're with me, I want you to type with me in the chat. I want you to type with me in the chat. Because if you're with me, I don't want you to miss this, because this becomes very vital to making sure that you are leveraging your network effectively. Okay. So if you're with me, I want you to type with me in the chat. Yes. Y'all are with me. Okay. So we've identified the nice to know, the nice to knows are going to be like directors and such, hiring managers, recruiters, those kind of people. The need to knows are going to be individuals who are in the role that you want or in the industry that you want, and they also are familiar with your work and your work ethic. Okay. They also are familiar with your work and your work ethic. Those are going to be the need to knows. So last week I had the blessed opportunity of speaking with a young woman who was going for an opportunity, and she was being interviewed by a bunch of people that already know who she is. So in efforts to make sure that she stood out of all of the candidates that were being considered, we had to get very clear about who was in her network that she can leverage, that was a need to know. Now, this type of individual is the type of person that many of you will probably be able to identify. She's been running the department. She knows how to create new strategies for the department. She does not necessarily have a director title, but people listen to her over sometimes the actual director. Can I get an amen? And so this is the type of individual who sways influence. They know how to leverage their influence. And so in order for them to be able to stand out from the rest of the crowd, some of which she was up against, people who she has trained and developed, in order for her to be able to do that, she had to be able to tap into the need to knows in that conversation. And so the way that you do that is by you being able to speak to your work from that individual's perspective, because they know what you have done, they've seen what you have done, and now you can give them even more context surrounding your work and your work ethic. Okay, so those are two so far: the nice to knows and the need to knows, and then the connectors. This is probably the most underrated type of network connection that people have. Connectors. Now, I just told you about an individual that I was helping for an interview, to which she rocked. She did her whole thing. But how did she get to me? Because she was connected. So when you are looking within your categories, within your networks, you need to identify who is the connector. This individual that connected her to me is not looking for a job at all. They're not, they have no, like, they have no interest in working, but they know of my work and the work that I do with women. And here was a person in their network who was looking to leverage and build up their skills. And this one individual connected the two of us. Can you see now why it becomes so important for you to identify those three people groups? The nice to knows, the need to knows, and the connectors. Because connectors, what I think a lot of people miss out on connectors don't always have titles. Connectors always are probably not even in your same industry. Connectors may not even be in your building, in your place of work. Okay? So I need you to look at your connections from a different perspective. Too many times we limit our network to the people that we work with or to the people who are like right next to us. Had I not been paying attention, had I not been vocal, had I not been clear about the work that I do, I would have missed out on the opportunity to help another sister grow along in her career strategy because I kept it all to myself. But because I show up for y'all the way that I show up, because you hear me talking about this quite often, because my family is aware of the work that I do, it's no longer being hidden. And so when you can have those types of connections within your network that they may not necessarily have access to the position, they may not necessarily have access to helping you write your resume, but they know how to connect you with someone who does. Those are powerful individuals. So make sure that you've identified who those three individuals are, those three people groups are in your network. Nice to knows, need to knows, and connectors. Okay. So that is how you are able to find the job, number one, that is surrounding your interests, and how you decide who you share your resume with. That was a really good question. That was also a really long answer. But I hope that this is helping y'all. I really hope that this is helping you to kind of look differently at the way that you approach your career strategy. Because one of the things that I think we forget about as we get older, we hear it a lot when we're raising children, and it's this, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to do all this other stuff. It also takes a village for you to be able to grow in your career strategy. Leverage your network. Okay. And not just your network that's on LinkedIn. Okay. Next question is, what is one thing I should be keen about when interviewing for a senior management position? What is one thing that I should be keen about when interviewing for a senior management position? I would say one thing that you should be keen about when you're interviewing for a senior management position is pay attention to the team. Who is the team that you're going to be managing? Because here's the thing, a lot of people are walking around with workplace trauma because they've had really bad leaders. Okay. And so pay attention to that team. What is it that that team is responsible to do? What are the resources that have been given to said team, and what have they done within the time frame that you are going to kind of take over? You can start to ask those questions during the interview conversation, especially when you are going for a senior management position. You can also ask to speak to the team. And this gets really nerve-wracking for some people because since people are so hurt and have so much workplace trauma, when they are invited into an interview or they're invited to speak it to who could be their senior leader, one of two things will happen. One is that they will be brutally honest. Like they're gonna tell you everything about everyone and everything. Okay? Like they're just gonna say it all. Or two, they will not say anything because since they have been hurt and since they have been burned and since they have been ill used or abused at work, it's safer for me to just to keep my mouth shut. And so when you are going to be responsible for managing a team in a senior leadership position, pay attention to the team. Okay. The title could be nice, but if the team is not there to buy into your vision and your mission and all that other jazz, you gonna find yourself real stressed out. Okay. So pay attention to the team and start to ask questions, clarifying questions. How do you see your role fits into this organization? How do you feel about this type of work? And the reason that I ask that is because a lot of people seem to think that your employees will show up to work and they turn off everything else. Like they show up to work and their whole life stops. When in fact, your employee is showing up to work and life is still happening for them in the background. You, as the senior leader, need to pay attention to that. Because if life is happening in the background, it is likely that that will impact the way that they show up and the way that they do work. And here's the thing, people will be more receptive to you when they know that you genuinely care about them than when they know that you're just there to chase a paycheck. Ooh. One of the things that I used to tell my team all the time, and I have a team meeting tomorrow, is that the things that I can share with you, I will, because I'm not trying to gatekeep or close anything. Like, that's just not the way that I operate. So, when you can keep it hot, humble, open, and transparent with your team, you absolutely will see some progress. But if they are already tired and burned and you don't pay attention and the last person who was there was just very difficult to work with, you need to give them time to get to know who you are. And in the interview process, you can ask questions surrounding that. They may or may not share. They may or may not tell you, but they will pay attention to the fact that you, out of all of the candidates, took time to get to know who they are as their potential future leader. So those are things that I would pay attention to. Okay. So I hope that helps someone. Um, that was a really good question. Next question is jumping into the job search after 10 years in finance. Any advice in my search? So if you are how many just kind of by numbers. Um if you are at a place where you are pivoting, like you are employed, but you want to pivot, okay, from the job that you're in right now, I want you to give me a one in the chat. If you are at a place where you are employed, but you're looking to pivot, I want you to give me a one in the chat and let me know because this will help guide kind of the conversation that we have next. If you're at a place where you're employed and you're looking to pivot, I want you to put a one in the chat. Okay, I'm seeing some ones. Awesome. Now, if you are at a place where you are unemployed and you're looking to jump back into the job market, I want you to give me a two. If you are unemployed and you're looking to jump back into the job market, I want you to give me a two. Okay. For those of you who are giving me ones right now in the chat, in terms of you are employed and you're looking to pivot into something else, when it comes to whether you're in finance or in any industry, what I need you to start to pay attention to is what is the unique skill set that you have learned over the trajectory of your career? So one example that I can give you is one of my clients, we'll call her Bree. One of my clients, Bree, when she is in her zone, that she is working, things like ideas and bringing out difficult um, concepts and breaking those down into smaller terms, Bree does that in her sleep. And so that is a unique skill set that when she has tapped into work that she is readily like enjoying and it fulfills her, Bree can get to this point where you can give her a difficult concept and immediately she's thinking in system and process and all this, like she's immediately able to think in that way. When you are looking to pivot, you need to pay attention to those types of skills. Those types of abilities for you to walk into a room, identify a problem, and immediately you know how to create a solution. Because here's the other thing that I want you to pay attention to, especially for those of you who are looking to pivot, right? You're employed and you're looking to pivot out of something. I want you to pay attention to your unique agitation. I want you to type that in the chat. For those of you who put ones in the chat, I want you to type unique agitation. Well, I get some water because I'm about to blow your mind in a minute. Unique agitation. And this unique agitation piece, until I didn't tap into this, it did not change my career. Like once I tapped into that, I was like, oh, I get it now. So for those of you who typed one and you're typing unique agitation, here's what I want you to understand. Many of you are in a place where you're looking to pivot, although you are employed. And there's a lot of things that I don't know about your employment situation, but I can tell you that your unique agitation, as soon as I start to break this down, will give you insight into what your next move could look like or what it should be. Here is how the unique agitation situation works. So you and I walk into a room filled with people. Something in that room is bothering you from a just like from a gut level. Like something around that room just does not like when you go into that room with me, you're like, you don't notice that? Like, you don't feel like this could be better? What if they did this, this, and this? You see how this, and this works? Like, what if we did, if that is who you are, and you are currently in a place where you are looking to pivot, I need you to pay attention to those unique agitations. Because if it's agitating you, it's likely that you already know how to solve said problem. But because we have not been taught to lean into those agitations, we've been taught to run away from them. The immediate response is, I need a new job. I need to find something else. When in fact, you might be in the right place. You just need to tap into that unique agitation and birth forth the solution that is already within you. I feel like I'm at church teaching. But I need you to pay attention to what is the unique agitation. Because when you can pay attention to the unique agitation, not only can you apply that within your organization, but now you can apply that to your career strategy. Because you know that you know how to fix this unique problem within the market, within the organization, within your friend group, whatever it is uniquely agitating you, and for some reason or another, every time you encounter that, you immediately know how to come up with a solution. This is one of the things that we talk about within the program in Scale to Six. We want to make sure that you're in job alignment. And a lot of people have the spray and pray kind of notion, right? I'm going to just apply to everything and pray to God that something comes my way. And then you end up real frustrated because you've been spraying and praying and ain't nobody coming. But may I challenge you to consider what is the unique agitation that you are facing at work, or what is the unique agitation that you are facing within the market, and have you a solution for it? Because if you do, then the next question is this a profitable solution? And can I take this solution to another organization, to another industry, and so on and so forth? So if you are in the place where you are employed, but you're looking to pivot and you're like, I don't really know what I should do. If you're like my friend here who is jumping into the job market after being in the same industry for 10 years, identify what is the unique agitation. Secondly, identify, is it profitable? And then thirdly, are there jobs for this issue? Because I know I have the solution. Okay. So I hope that that helped the number ones. Number ones, if you were employed and you're looking to pivot, I hope that that gave you an answer. If you are in the two category where you are currently unemployed and you're trying to find your next best opportunity, this is going to require you to move completely different than the way a lot of people have been moving. So here's the thing. And this is something that I don't find too many people are telling y'all. A good resume is not good enough. In this market, a good resume is not good enough. Not only do you need to have a good resume, you need to start building your brand, especially if you are unemployed. Because once you start to build your brand and share your unique perspective, when it comes to finance, when it comes to education, when it comes to nutrition, whatever it is, once you start to share your unique perspective online and start to give meat to what it is that you want to do, that will completely change how you look at the job market. Because if you're unemployed, many of you are probably like, I just need a job yesterday, Susanna. Like, I want to go onto LinkedIn, or I want to go into Indeed, or I want to go into whatever career search site you're looking at, and I want to send my application and I want to be called immediately. Well, baby, I'm sorry to tell you, but here's the issue. You and a whole lot of other people are expecting that same type of result. So, here is my recommendation for those of you who fell into the two category. You're currently unemployed and you're looking for a new opportunity. The first is to activate your network. Identify who are the three people groups: nice to knows, need to knows, and connectors. Secondly, identify what you do well. That unique agitation thing applies to you as well. What is it that you do well that you know that you provide solution for? And then thirdly, start to pay attention to the areas around you where you can start to apply said solution and share your perspective. See, a lot of us don't leverage social media the right way, because many times you'll get onto social media because you're trying to escape from doing what you know you need to do. How many of us are that? Guilty, right? We scroll for hours and it's like, dang, I was supposed to do the laundry. Forgot about that. Dang, I was supposed to update my resume. And you start off with the right intentions, right? You look for a resume writer, or you looking for a career strategist, and some way down the line, you end up looking at dog surfing. What? What happened? So if you're going to be on social media anyway, start to share your perspective. Start to tap into things that you're seeing on social media that you're like, huh, I know how to do that. I know people who are in that industry. I know X, Y, and Z. So start to leverage, because especially if you are in the unemployed kind of season right now, you obviously want to find something so that you can cover your bills, because your bills don't care that you're unemployed. They are still going to come every month and they're going to expect to get paid. So if that is where you're at, you need to find something to cover those bills. But if you what you want to do is to develop your career, then you need to start to build your brand, leverage your network, and then start to identify what skills you have that can be monetized. Okay. So that is my recommendation for those of you who are kind of going into the job market. Either you are employed or you're unemployed. Pay attention to what are the unique agitations, and are they marketable? Like, can you get value for that? Can you get compensated for that? All right. Next question was, I know referring to culture as a family is a red flag. Yes, ma'am. Should I go to the second interview? So I would say, I would say to kind of think that through, because sometimes that family language is brought about from a single individual. It could be that the family language is coming from just the interviewer, especially if it's just like a recruiter or somebody like that. And it could be that once you move on to the second level, they're like, listen, we are not a family, but we are a team. And this is what is expected from our team. But if that is not the language that you're hearing, I would probably stay away from that. I will tell you this. When I sat through interviews that I was hiring for a larger team, I would, in fact, say that we were a family, but I would also give you definition to family. And so when I would say that, it usually would sound like this: our team is a family here. Some family members, you like them close. And some family members, you only want to see them at Christmas and Thanksgiving. That is the very real situation of what our culture looks like here. So there are going to be moments where you enjoy being around each other. And then there are going to be moments where it's like, I'm not interested in seeing you right now. But at the end of the day, we still have work to get done. So as the leader, I'm expecting that my team knows how to put down the drama and knows how to get to work. So can you see, not everybody talks the same way that I do, and I totally understand that. But because I knew that people would hear the term family and think one thing, I wanted to give you very clear definition of what family meant for me and working with my team. Because how many of you know that to be true? You have some family members that you love them, you want to be around them all the time. But then there are some other family members that you're like, dang, if I don't see you until Christmas of 2027, I'm good. Anybody? Or is it just me? Is it just me? If you have family like that, drop a 5 in the chat. You have had those types of moments where it's like a good neighbor, stay over there. Like, I'm good. Right? But that is the true dynamic of what it looks like to have a team that could have a family culture. But if you don't know that type of language, and if they're not being forthcoming with that type of language, immediately family is a red flag, because family will sound like they don't know how to respect your boundaries. And so they asking you all kinds of weird questions. Okay. But when I would interview candidates, and I still do this quite a bit, I tell them that I'm very honest. Listen, we're a family here, but let me tell you what family here means. That means that there are going to be days where I love you very much, where you love me very much. But then there are going to be days where you don't want to see Susanna on anything. And it could very well be that Susanna don't want to see you on anything. But when it comes to getting this work done for the mission and the purpose of what we're doing, we put all that drama aside and we get the work. So that's what it means to be a family on this side. And at that point, as the hiring manager, I give you the option. Is that something that you would be interested in? Because you may or you may not. So it really depends. And here's the biggest thing that I want you to pay attention to, because we're talking like during an interview. You can identify that type of culture with the leader that you have. Leaders, leaders lead with an open hand, meaning that they create a culture where their people want to stay and they stay right here. They have the option to leave at any given point. You can go whenever you want. But because the leader has been very intentional about creating the right culture, people stay. Is this making sense? Managers, on the other hand, will lead with a closed fist, especially, especially if they've not been developed. So they manage from a place of fear. And what happens with managing with a closed fist is that then people are just trying to, like, they just trying to get out. Like they can't get out soon enough. And so this is how you can identify what type of culture you're walking into or you're working in. Leaders lead with an open hand. It's like you can go whenever you want. But because we've created such a dynamic culture here, people choose to stay. Managers will lead with a closed fist. Okay? So I hope that that helps somebody. Um, in the interview process, what are some good questions to ask the hiring manager? I feel like I just dropped the reel on that for y'all in terms of questions that you can ask. Um, so I'm not gonna tackle that one, love. Okay, but there, if you scroll through my page, there are tons of questions that I give you for you to ask. Okay. All right. So we are almost at the 15 mark of the hour. If you're okay, I want you to say okay, and then I'll get into the questions that y'all asked in real time. If you're okay, I want you to type okay in the chat, and then I will get into the questions that you guys have asked. I love connecting with y'all. I really do enjoy this type of work. I really do hope that when you join one of these lives, that it like transforms the way that you think, the way that you see yourself in terms of the career search process. Because, baby, let me tell you, this is what it looks like for you to take ownership of your career instead of you feeling like they own you. And before I take your questions, this is one thing that I want to make sure all of you walk away with. You are lending your services to the organization at which you work. You are lending them your time, your talent, and your attention. Be careful who you lending it to. Okay? Because not everybody's worthy of that. Now let's get into your questions. Let's see. Oh Lord, we got some questions, baby. Question here is, hello, do you have any information regarding getting a government job? Uh, Thank you for helping us. My love, it is my pleasure to help y'all. In terms of getting a government job, I think the thing that you need to be paying attention to is what is the skill set that you are trying to bring to this government role. Government jobs are very interesting. They're not difficult, but they are interesting to get into. So you have to definitely be able to speak to the perspective that they need in that instance. And in some cases, you need to be able to share a little bit more than you would at a regular kind of corporate 9 to 5 situation. Again, just because it's a government type of position. So I would say if you're looking for a government job, one of the places that you can start to look at is USA Job, especially if you're in the United States, usajobs.gov, I believe. usajobs.gov is probably one of the best places for you to start looking for government roles. And then if you're looking kind of locally within your county or within your town, the other place would be to look at your county website or your town website and then leverage your network. Do you know anyone who is working at those locations that you can start to plug your information to? Never underestimate the the power of an informal interview. Okay? So I hope that helped. Okay, next question is, how do you effectively answer the question, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And what is your dream job? My dream job has nothing to do with nursing, but it also isn't something that would pay the bills. Okay, so this question is a really good one. So how do you effectively answer, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm gonna tell you what not to say, okay? From my own experience. Here's the thing. A lot can happen in 5 years, y'all. A lot can happen in 5 years. So, what I would encourage you not to say is to tell the person that's interviewing you, I want your job in 5 years, cuz immediate red flag. Immediate red flag. But what I would say is like, think of that question in terms of how you want to grow. Remember that companies only want to work with top talent. So, what are some of the things that they have? Like, what are some of the skills and talents that leave room for growth that you would like to accomplish within the next 3 to 5 years? And so, for me, if that were something that I were going to be answering in the next 5 years, I would like to see myself as a better public speaker, being able to command the attention of a room, and being able to lead my team to meet this, whatever that is, this goal. So personally, because my team now has grown quite a bit. In 5 years, I would like to be able to say that our team has successfully served over 1,000 women in being able to secure salaries at 50% or higher than what they're currently at. That is the way that Susana would answer that question. And so the way that Susana plans on doing that is by then, and then I go into the strategy of being able to do that. So speak about what is the skill that you want to develop and what is the strategy that you're going to use to get to that skill. So the first example that I gave you was being able to dominate a room or being able to speak publicly, like strengthen my public speaking. The way that I can do that is by being able to, or enrolling in a course, or putting myself purposely at a place where I'm speaking more publicly. Does that make sense? So make sure that you are answering that question in terms of what is the skill and then what is the strategy you're going to deploy to grow. Okay. Next question is, when do you know when do you know the role is no longer serving you? Ha. um So this is for my people who are either happily employed, but you feel unfulfilled, or for my people who are fed up with work, and you're trying to identify like what is your next role going to be. I have been exactly where this individual is. Um, when a role is no longer serving you, you'll know that a role is no longer serving you when it becomes more of a burden than it is a blessing. When it becomes more of, it's not that I don't like the job, but man, I really don't want to be here anymore. Like, I don't feel like I'm growing. I don't feel like I can see any upward mobility. I don't feel like I'm being supported. Um, I don't feel like this is going to tap into my skill set anymore. Once you, ladies, because 90% of my audience is women, you know when you're on autopilot. When you have gotten to that place of being on autopilot, that's how you know that role is no longer serving you. And I can tell you that because I remember what it looked like for me to go on autopilot. From the outside looking in, everybody thought that it was great. Oh, Susanna's killing it. They're having a great time. Her team is doing this, that, and the third. But internally, I felt like I could not take it anymore. Like if I got one more question and I had to answer the same question again, I was going to explode. But it was because I had already gotten on autopilot. And so if you are at a place where you're trying to identify, does this role serve me anymore? Start to pay attention to, are you on autopilot? Because a lot of women, by the time they get to me, the questions that I start to ask, or the commonalities that I hear is, I don't feel confident anymore in my work. And I don't feel fulfilled. And a lot of that is because a long time ago, you just kind of settled and now you're coasting. And there's nothing wrong. In some seasons, you will need to, for your safety, in some seasons, you will need to be on autopilot. But when it starts to become a drag, when work starts to become the first thing you think about, when you start to feel dread, that's when you start to know this is no longer the right role for me. Earlier this year, I was we're only 8 days in, but earlier this month, at the beginning of this month, I was talking with my husband. I told him, I said, for the first time in a long time, I don't dread going back to work. That's how you know whether or not the role is serving you anymore. Okay? Because I really don't believe that we were created to live a life where we need to take a break from. That's just the way I think. But so I hope that answered your question, sweetheart. Okay. I'm trying to get, y'all have a lot of good questions. Um, all right, let's see. Um, this question is, when the interviewer asks a question, what are the good questions? What? When the interviewer asks me to ask a question, what are the good questions? Becky, baby, I could give you a whole book on those. But there's a bunch of good questions that you can ask. I actually just released a reel today that gives you two questions that you can start to ask if you are in the interview process and you're trying to figure out what questions to ask. Okay, so I want to try to get to all the other questions that folks are asking. Okay, this question says during the interview, I asked what the budget for the role was, and they told me it was only one set salary. Can I still negotiate this after the job offer without risking losing the offer? You absolutely can. Yes, you can. So the way that you can do that is if you when you are approaching the salary conversation, y'all, I need you to think in terms of what are your trade-offs. So if they give you a set salary, are there other aspects of your total compensation that you can negotiate on? So total compensation is not only just your salary, it's your time off, it's you being able to go back to school, it's your professional development budget. It's you being able to get profit sharing if the company offers that. It's you being able to negotiate sick leave or family leave. Like those are things that I want you to pay attention to when you are going into the salary conversation. So, like that, if they give you a set salary, you have other things that you can discuss. Okay. A lot of organizations, especially in this job market, will have that. But imagine if they tell you, okay, this is the set salary, but you can work 3 days from home and two in the office. Is that something that you would turn down? I don't know. That may be a good thing for you and that may not. But those are the types of things that I need you to pay attention to when you are going into these salary conversations, because a lot of people just think like final number, and there's so much more that you can be considered for. Okay, so just pay attention to that. um let's see. Okay, so this question is surrounding a panel interview. How many of y'all have been on a panel interview? If you've been on a panel interview, drop a 7. And if you enjoy panel interviews, drop an 8. If you've been on a panel interview, drop a 7. And if you enjoy panel interviews, drop an 8. I think I know what number I'm going to see the most of. Um, this question says, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, my love. Um, how to prepare for the panel interview after the screening interview with HR and the interview with the hiring manager. Okay. So, so a lot of y'all are giving me 7s. So panel interviews make people really very nervous. And I'm going to give you my suggestions on how to crush a panel interview, especially because I just went on a panel interview, and that's going to be a story time for another time. But anyway, so panel interviews, more often than not, outside of any other interview, are going to be scripted. And the reason why panel interviews are scripted is because there is a lot of people, anywhere between 3 to 5, that are running this panel, that are on this panel. And there's a specific set of questions that they want to make sure that they ask. And the reason why I like panel interviews so much is because if you know your career story and you are able to articulate your value and your transferable skills, then you will likely answer some of those other questions in a single shot. So while many people get nervous around panel interviews because there's a lot of people in the room, the way that I want you to attack panel interviews is to think of PAR for all of your responses, whether it's a panel interview or it is a one-on-one. Okay? PAR. If you're with me, I want you to type that in the chat, and this will be the last question that I take. We hit 200 people on Insta, y'all. Now we're back at 197. But listen, I don't think I've ever had 200 people join the live, so that's kind of exciting. But if you're with me, PAR, and we're back at 200. Listen, share it with a friend. PAR stands for what is the problem? What were your action steps? And what were the results? I'm going to say that one more time. What is the problem? What are your action steps? And what was the result? Whether you are in a one-on-one interview or you are at a panel interview, that's how I want you to answer the questions. What was the problem that you were dealing with? What action steps did you take to resolve said problem? And after you did those action steps, what were the results? This will likely help you to nail your interview with a panel because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for people who are going to be able to bring solutions. Remember, unique agitation, bring solution. So, what is the problem you identified? What were the action steps that you took? And then, how did you resolve them? What were the results from that? Oh, thank you, Liz Lopez. She is the note taker for our family here. Okay. So, you want to make sure that you are answering that. So, like that, when you go into the panel interview, when you have that framework, then you can control your nerves. You know what's the biggest turnoff for a hiring manager? Um, like myself, when a candidate talks for 30 minutes to try to get their point across, it's like, baby, land your plane. Land your plane. Bite-sized pieces. You know why I think like that? Because you're not the only candidate that I'm interviewing on that day. And so for each answer, if it takes you 30 minutes to respond, can you imagine how much longer my interviews are going to be? So think in terms of PAR. Problem, action, results. Okay. Especially when it comes to the interview. The other part of this is um, after your interview with HR or the person who conducted the screening interview, you can also ask them, hey, I know that the next step is going to be meeting with the hiring manager. What are some topics that you think are like really specific for them that they would want to see a candidate speak to? You can ask that question. You can. I think a lot of people just get nervous and they're like, I just made it through the screening and thank you, Jesus. You can ask that question because then that informs the way that you are going to respond when you meet with the hiring manager. Okay, so just kind of think in terms of that. So I hope the PAR method is similar to the STAR method, but it condenses things just a little bit faster. I rather the STAR method on your resume, and I rather the PAR method in the interview. STAR on resume, PAR on the interview. But everybody has a different flavor, so okay, we gonna rock with it. Okay, let's see. What's the next question? If that was helpful for you with the PAR method, I just want you to type yes in the chat. Yes. If that was helpful for you, I want you to type yes. Okay. HOT stands for humble, open, and transparent. That's how I try to lead. That's how I try to be with my clients. I try to keep it hot, humble, open, and transparent. That's how I try to work with my team. The things that I can share, I will. And the things that I can't, it's not. It's not for you to know right now. Okay. All right, next question. And this is going to be my last question. Here's the thing. Before I answer this last question, there are two things that I want to make you aware of. The first is this is what we're going to do every Monday, unless there is a holiday. So the only time that we won't do this will probably in this month will probably be on the 15th. But then we're back. If you have a question and you would like me to answer your question, my email is in my profile. Email me your question. So, like that, when we go live again, I will answer your question. Okay. So you can email me your questions. The other thing that I'm going to share with y'all is that I typically go live on Thursdays as well. And Thursday of this week, I have a special announcement for y'all that I cannot wait to share. It is one of the things that you guys have asked me for the most. It shows up in my DMs. It shows up during these lives. It shows up in the comments. And those questions are, Susana, how do I work with you? And will you write my resume? And all this other jazz. I'm going to be giving you more context on how we can make that happen on Thursday. So on Thursday, I'm going to drop that information with y'all. Okay. If you've ever wanted to work with me, if you've ever wanted my team and I to review your LinkedIn profile, or write your resume, all that stuff, We are going to be dropping that announcement on Thursday. And so you want to pay attention to my profile, because when that drops, uh, it's going to be on a first come, first serve basis. My hope is to be able to serve all of y'all, in all honesty. But I also want to be respectful of my team and our resources. Okay. So those are the two things that I want to share with y'all before we wrap. You can email me your questions at info@susana.alba.co. And on Thursday, we will be dropping more information about how you can work with me and my team. Okay. This is going to be the last question that I answer for today. And that question is, I left my previous job basically for unfairness, more responsibility, and no pay increase. How do I go on to a new interview and properly state this without lying why I left? That's such a good question. Okay, so if you left your previous job and you don't know necessarily how to word that during an interview, there's a couple ways that you can phrase this. If you are a note taker, this is probably the spot where you should take notes, um, and you can share it with your friends and family, okay? Because I'm going to tell you how you can respond to said question. Y'all ready? When you're ready, I want you to type ready. Ready. When I start to see that on the screen, I'm going to answer this question. Okay. This was a good live. I missed y'all, fam bam. I missed y'all. All right. So the question is, how do I respond to the question, why are you looking to leave your last role, without giving too much detail? That's pretty much what she's asking. And here is how I would encourage you to respond. The reason that I'm looking to leave, or the reason that I am leaving my last role is because it no longer is in alignment with my vision and mission for my career. This position is in closer alignment to my vision and career, my career vision, in that, and then list out what are the things that you feel are a value add to the next position that you are going for. So, for example, if I were hiring, and let's say I was hiring for a social media manager, and I were to ask you, why are you looking to leave your last role as a social media manager? The reason that I'm looking to leave my last role as a social media manager is because at my previous organization, it was no longer in alignment with my personal career mission and vision. And after observing you, after reading the mission of the organization, this is in closer alignment with my career vision and mission. And I would like to contribute to the team's accolades. I recently saw that you guys were featured here, or you guys were able to do this, or you guys were able to do that. And that's something that I believe in and that I stand by. Can you see how that response tells them why you left, but it gives no information about your personal life? Keep your personal business personal, and don't bring old drama into a new opportunity. That'll apply to work and a whole lot of other things. Do not bring old drama into a new opportunity. They don't need to know why you left. And to be honest, they don't really care. They don't really care. They just want to know that you're going to show up, that you're going to do the job, that you're going to ask questions when necessary, and that you keep it moving. Okay? So don't get in your head. Don't overthink it. Don't stress yourself out. What if they call my old organization and they tell them all this about me? Baby, ain't nobody got that kind of time. And if they do, and you have proof of that, then you now have a legal case. Okay? Like Ashley Kirkwood says, when they go low, you go legal. It's really that simple. So don't overthink this process. Okay? If you are looking to transition and they start to ask you, why are you looking to leave your current role? I did a reel on this as well. You can give that type of response. It no longer is in alignment with the career mission and vision that I see. And I'm looking for a new opportunity where I can see longevity. That's another thing that companies are going to love. The word longevity, you mean you trying to be here for a long time? immediately they will perk up and be like, "Oh, let me talk to you. Come here, girl. Come here, sign this paper." You understand what I mean? So, like, I want you to think about it in that way instead of feeling like you need to give a whole lot of detail when it's not necessary. Okay. So, for those of you who have asked me, yes, I will absolutely save this live. It will be up on my page. Share it with a friend or three. If you have questions and you would like for me to answer them during our Monday career Q&As, you can email me your questions at info@susanaalba.co. I likely will create a form where you can submit your questions as well. But for right now, if you have questions that you want me to ask, you can send them there. And then turn your notifications on for Thursday, because Thursday of this week, if you've ever wanted to work with me, you will have this opportunity. You will have this opportunity. And I laugh, y'all, because I am giddy with excitement to be able to serve you guys in this way. Okay. So if you've ever wanted to work with us, if you've ever wanted us to like help you with your resume, your cover letter, mock interviewing, we're going to make that announcement for y'all on Thursday. Okay. So I love y'all to the moon and back. Thank you for rocking with your girl. Now you go be great and enjoy the rest of your week. Happy New Year. Let's make this year our best year. And I will catch you guys on the next one. Bye, y'all.